So earlier I was looking for something to watch on Tubi, and I had come across this movie called Cruel, the Cross Village Encounter, and I had seen the poster for it a few times, and it was intriguing enough that I was like, all right, you know what? I'm folding laundry. I'll just throw it on and see what happens. And unbeknownst to me, this was a found footage film, much to my pleasant surprise, because you guys know, big fan of found footage. And it started off with this girl with some scars on her face recounting her experience, and they show her footage as well of her and someone, I think it's her partner. They are being attacked by the dog man. And so this documentary film crew is looking into this, and they're interviewing people, and then of course they go out there themselves to see if they can solve the mystery of the dog man of Michigan. So I had read in the IMDb trivia that this was shot in 3 days for $100, which, man, it just makes me want to make a movie. It really does. $100. That's crazy. So when this started, it's obviously aping off of something like The Blair Witch, of course. That's going to be the template for most of these filmmakers, documentarian filmmakers who are looking into a local legend and going out into the woods for themselves to see if they can stumble across something as they make their documentary. I mean, this is just the Blair Witch 101. They're interviewing townspeople and whatever. So of course this is all kind of seen it before, been there, done that kind of stuff. So it had started out and it felt like that, and this is something that we've seen copied plenty of times, and at this point it's like, yeah, is it tired? Sure, but if it's done well, it's still watchable, right? And I thought the acting from everyone throughout, for the most part, was pretty good. I thought it was actually pretty fine, all things considered, for the budget and how quickly it was shot and probably how fast it was written. The movie clocks in at under an hour, so it's like boom, just that fast. It's on YouTube for free on like a bunch of different locations. I saw one other review to this movie on YouTube. I searched for a little while to see if I was gonna go up against other competition for this review, because I'm always curious with these lower watch to things like this, who's reviewing them. Nobody. But yeah, so overall I did not like this. I wanted to, and I thought I was going to, because I felt like it was going somewhere that could end up in a place that I was like, all right, that was watchable. And while it's somewhat watchable, it just, I don't know, it feels so derivative and ill-conceived and lazy in places, and I just feel like there's a lot of uninteresting dialogue that just continues, and once it ramps things up, right, like once we get into that last like 10 or 15 minutes, and this is a movie that's only like 58 minutes long, the cameraman becomes excruciatingly annoying, and his banter with the only other member of the crew that is with him at this point, because other people have vanished, I just found their interactions to really hurt the film at the end, because they were fine for the most part. The film crew is probably my least favorite aspect of the film, like up until they took over around the halfway point when they're in the car and they're like driving out to the location and walking around. I didn't hate them or anything. It just becomes very repetitive once that happens. Everything leading up to that was like interviews with different people in different locations talking about, similar events but in different ways. That actually kept it interesting and had some variety to it. But once it becomes the filmmakers in the car and then out, walking. It just, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it pushes anything forward. It's just kind of them being like, do you believe? No. Yes. Okay. Why don't you? Sorry for the air conditioning kicking on. But then it's just them walking. Do you know where you're going? Do you know where you're going? I'm kind of getting scared. Do you know where you're going? And then it's like, they're missing. Calm down. No, they're missing. Calm down. No, they're missing. Calm down. It's that. It's just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It just becomes very, very repetitive, and that was a shame, because I feel like had they put some more thought into that aspect of the film, they could actually had something here that was, worth a view for found footage fanatics like myself. But this is like a Blair Witch clone that doesn't offer anything unique. They have the setup, which is kind of the basic framework setup of everything, but with enough variety of characters. And there's this like hunter guy that was the person who found the girl with the scars on her face. I liked his recounting of events and who he was and all that. You can start to buy into these people. Like, they feel like fairly real people, and I was into that stuff. But once like the action starts, once they get scared, that's when the range starts to become evident, right? Like, if you're friends and you're making a movie together, it's easy to be like, the banter of kind of normal conversation, that's fairly easy to land believably. Not everyone can do it. Some people just act a fool, right, as soon as the camera comes on, and they act nothing like themselves, and they're not natural. I feel like these guys were natural, but it's, of course, when they're asked to go outside that range of just like, typical discussion between one another and banter and like shit talking, and they're just kind of laughing and having a good time. Like, that kind of stuff's easier to pull off. But once like they have to get scared and they have to scream and they have to run, that's when, of course, like, real acting comes into play, and these guys are amateurs, and it shows. And because nothing really is all that interesting going on, and feels so cheap, it just doesn't make it a pleasant experience. So yeah, that was a shame. So yeah, I don't know. It wasn't horrible, but it definitely lost its way, right? Much like the hikers in this movie. But yeah, that's about it. These seem like the kinds of guys, though, that I would hang out with. Kind of a very punk rock group of people, which I always like to see. Girls super cute, and they just seem like a fun group of friends. But man, I just really wish that they could have pulled off something in the end and really maybe put a little more thought into it. They filmed this in 3 days, and I just feel like if they had to just thought about things more and just maybe had come up with something a little more clever for its, because this movie's it's less than an hour. It's like you could have added 20 minutes. But I don't know. Anyway, I'm just rambling at this point. I'm always rooting for these films, so I'm always kind of trying to fix them as I talk about them, because I do want them to be successful, and I always want to recommend these and enjoy them. But this one just kind of fell apart, as I had said. And, the poster definitely felt like false advertising to a degree. But whatever. Anyway, I watched it. There you go. Found footage. Another 2024. This will make my 170th 2024 horror film thriller watch of the year. So keeping very close count. I'm trying to get to 200 by the end of the year, and that seems like it will easily happen. So anyway, all right, I'll see you in the comments.